Sometimes multilinguals hit a plateau, and by this I mean that they are stuck in one or more of the languages that they know. In this language that they are stuck in, they are not making any progress. They're not reaching a level that they need or that they're interested in. And they just cannot change that for a long time. That's what I call a plateau. You stay flat against your plans, your wishes, and your needs. Today, we are going to address this issue. I'm going to explain how it's possible to break this plateau and start an ascent towards better knowledge, better use of a language. In order to do that, I'm going to use an analogy to bodybuilding, something that I've been practicing for many years, almost as many years as I've been an active scholar. My name is Shai Dotan. I'm Associate Professor of International Public Law at the University of Copenhagen, Faculty of Law, and the purpose of this series of lectures is to help you improve your English, other languages that you know, and your learning skills. I was inspired to make this video about language learning from what would seem to many as an unlikely source. It's a short video by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Where he explains his philosophy for bodybuilding. Now, I'm sure all of you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger was definitely one of the best bodybuilders that ever lived before he became an actor and then a politician. He has a philosophy for training very hard with high weights, many repetitions, many sets, so that he would overtrain and burn any excess fat in his body and shape his muscles to perfection. So he's not coming from a philosophy of somebody that doesn't regularly train a lot. Arnold Schwarzenegger trained more than anybody. When he was beginning, he was training 5 hours a week, and he was training very hard with high weights, very short rest between repetitions, long sets, and also a set that involves contradictory muscles. So it's a way for him to do even more within a time. So he would do, for example, the bench press for the chest, and then immediately go to and do chin-ups for the back, and basically work on his muscles back and forth without stop for 5 hours. So it's somebody that trains very hard. And even he faced situations where you would say the muscle, he says, hit a wall. That's what I call hit a plateau, a situation where he's not making any progress anymore. And why is that? It's because the muscle is designed for a certain function. So we use it to move, we use it as cavemen to hunt and to run and jump and throw stones. And the muscle is built to do that. If the muscle feels comfortable doing a movement that you've been doing before, it doesn't grow, it doesn't develop, it doesn't improve, it doesn't get stronger, because it's already comfortable doing what you ask it to do. So what you need to do, says Arnold Schwarzenegger, is to shock the muscle. You need to do something that surprises the muscle, but the muscle is not used to doing. You need to do something drastic and unexpected, so the muscle will have to develop fast and to grow, because otherwise it will not be able to handle this punishment that you inflict upon it. Now, I can tell you from my own training, of course, if it wasn't clear from the beginning, I'm not a professional bodybuilding. I never joined any competition, and I never will, but it's something that I enjoy to do. And my training is a very specific type of bodybuilding, which is much closer to power lifting. So I would usually focus on strength and not on looks. I would try to focus most of my energy on the key exercises that work on all the body, the squat, the deadlift, and the bench press, and to try to lift higher weights there. And now I'm 43 and I'm not planning to get any better. My main job is to try not to get worse. So I usually do the same training every time. And I've been doing that over long stretches of time. But when I was younger and my goal was to, say, climb from 130 kilograms bench press to 135 kilograms bench press. So the strategy is not to necessarily always do 130 kilograms and then 132.5 kilogram with a little bit of help from a spotter, and then try to climb like this. Sometimes you do this, but sometimes you have to make a shock, a surprise. There are also kind of techniques to do that, but do something completely different. So for example, I would ask two people at the gym to help me. One would stand at every side of the bar, and I would start to do a bench press with 120 kilograms. I do as much as I can. Let's say, I don't know, 1 or 2 reps. I'll put it back, and then they pull 2 weights of 10 each. So I go to 100. Sometimes I would start at 100, and then I would do again. They take away 20 kilograms, 10 from each side. I do with 80 kilograms as much as I can. Now I'm getting tired, but also the weight is getting smaller, so I can do many more repetitions. And then 60 kilograms and 40 kilograms, and until I'm left with a bar of 20 kilograms only. And I just try, I mean, sometimes I will stop at 60 kilograms, not to embarrass myself. But you get the picture. That's something new. That's something that the muscle is not used to. The muscle is used to me trying to do what powerlifters usually do, which is to try to lift as much weight as I can once. And that's great for a lot of purposes, especially to get stronger. But if you try something different, you get a surprise that shocks the muscle. Now, my recommendation to you who are multilinguals is, if you hit a plateau with a certain language, you will have to do something similar. And it's always going to happen because, so for me, for example, I work regularly, meaning I teach, I speak, I write, I read regularly every day with 3 languages. So English, Hebrew, which is my native tongue, and Danish. But I also know German and French, and I have used them to read numerous books and in various capacities. It's impossible for me to develop these languages at the same time as I'm doing teaching and research and using the other languages all the time. So some of these languages will kind of be in a situation which is relatively flat, and that's perfectly fine. But then when I can say to myself, now I want to change that, I need to change that, because suddenly it's important for me to be able to read in German, write in German, speak in German. I don't think I'm able to write anything that is coherent, but I may be able to read and to speak with my current level. What do I do? And the answer would be, do exactly what Arnold Schwarzenegger recommends to do in the gym. Shock the muscle, shock your system. Do something that you are not used to doing. If throughout the last year you've read occasionally in German and listened a little bit, it will not make you better. You will not improve by chance. What you need to do is something drastic. Throw yourself into a situation where you go against what you've been doing before, surprise yourself, and then immediately, or sometimes it takes a bit more time, but after a while, you will adjust and you will break this plateau and you will start an ascent. You will get to a situation where your language is improving. Now, of course, you may ask, how do I do that? How do I shock the muscle in terms of the use of languages? Everything I said so far is very abstract, and I gave it a lot of examples from bodybuilding. They're not really helping us. So try to think about the same logic here. You want to do something that surprises your brain, that you're not used to. You want to do something that you've never done before regularly, and you want to be able to commit to that. Now, the most important gulf that we find in language use, in my opinion, is a gulf between passive language use or passive language understanding and active language use. There are a lot of people that are able to listen to a language, to read in a language, and would not be able to speak on the spot at all. I say that from my own experience. Now, the latest language that I started to study was Italian. I think I can understand pretty well, especially if it's in a written form, and especially if it's a topic that I know something about, like law. I understand quite a lot. Would I be able to speak? No way. I mean, I'm just not able to jump over it. The same happened to me in French. I had a friend of mine that I started to talk to, and when I began, after years of reading in French and listening to French, I couldn't utter a sentence. I mean, I couldn't even say my name is Shai in French. It was ridiculous. Slowly it got better because the shock was effective. I basically put myself into a situation where I forced myself to go from passive understanding of a language to an active use of a language. It's a surprise, it's a shock, and you adjust, your brain adjusts. And if it doesn't happen in the first meeting, then somehow, as you have your inner monologue working throughout the day, or as you dream, or I don't know what is the reason, but the day after it will be much, much better. So if you are like me, let's say I would try to speak in Italian, it would be a complete disaster. What I can guarantee you is if I try the same, just the day after, it will be better. And the day after, it will be better, and so on. So the key to shocking the muscle of a multilingual is usually to move from passive to active. Usually, but not exclusively. I think it depends on the level of a language that you are at a certain moment. For example, in Danish, I still find it sometimes not natural to speak fluently. And what I did was I decided to teach a course in Danish. I've already taught it several times, but still, every time I come into the class the first day, I feel the pressure, and I feel this pressure making me better. So there are things that I would do consciously. So I would focus some of my reading in Danish. Before that, I would prepare very, very well for class, much, much more than I would do for a class that I teach in English. But also, there's a lot of work that is going unconsciously. So every time I get this shock where I'm standing in front of a classroom and I'm saying a sentence and I think of a word, and the first word that comes to my mind is in English, the second is in Hebrew, the third is in German, but I'm searching for the Danish word and I don't find the exact word, and I use a synonym or something that is even worse than a synonym, maybe just a word that is similar. And I would, after that, after the class, somehow the change would happen. You know, it's a combination of these tiny, just like the muscle needs tiny wounds to get better, the combination of these tiny failures, this tiny searching for the right answer would make me not just know better words, because it's not something that I could check in the dictionary and I know, now I know this word. Usually I know this word already, but making it more available for my mind is what I'm looking for. And this happens from shocking the muscle, and this happens from surprising yourself in an uncomfortable situation. So if you are an academic and you teach most of your time in German and you want to become better in English, then try to find a course in university where you can teach in English. And the more languages that you know, the more essential this is to do that if you want to reach the highest level possible. Because teaching is really one level above most uses of a language. You have to be able to think on the spot. You have to stand in front of a classroom and do it for a long time. Today I taught for 3 hours, and all of them in Danish. So I basically had to continuously do that. So that's a very different challenge. And if you are an academic, you can definitely take on something like that. If you want something that is less ambitious, but you are at a high level in the language, so find other social situations where you can speak. So this can be going to a bar and talking to people very in a certain language, or finding a friend that will talk to you exclusively in a certain language. And the more you can make it this commitment, the better your language will become, because a stronger shock will happen to your muscle, the brain, the ability to be a multilingual. So look for something where you are committed, that you cannot change and run back to your native tongue or to English. You will have to do it in a language that you are trying to practice. And this pressure is exactly what forms the tiny wounds that make the muscle grow, that make your abilities of improving the language better. What if you're not able to do that? So you're not able to speak coherently. If you're not able to speak coherently to a human being, you can try to speak to a chatbot. I have a video about that. I find it sometimes useful. I have to say that I have a very strange shyness from the computer, sometimes more than a human being. It's very, very stupid. I don't know exactly why, but I try to avoid making mistakes. I judge myself more harshly than others would judge me. But if you don't have this problem, then go to ChatGPT, open the chatbot, and start to speak in any language that you want to practice, and the chatbot would answer you in this language, and then you can just get the practice. So you have some level of commitment, and you have some interaction, and you again shocking yourself into getting better. But right, if you're not at that level, one thing that you can do, for example, is start to write in a language. Now, I find that some languages are easier for me to writing when I'm not that good, and some are more difficult. Actually, German and French have, to my eyes, a more difficult grammar. So I felt more at ease when I was speaking them, but I have a great fear of trying to write in German, for example. In Danish, I started to write relatively early because the grammar is very, very easy. There's not so many surprises there. So if you find a language like this, and if you're not worried about making mistakes, just force yourself to write. So you've been reading for hours every day, you haven't been writing. How do you shock your muscle? You go from passive to active, and you start to write. And that's something that I think can also be useful. Of course, today you can use programs like Grammarly to fix your writing, and that's something that is very good. And generally, most of the videos in this channel are about writing in English. So if English is the language that you want to improve, and you can improve all the languages, even your native tongue, there's always a possibility for improvement. So by all means, write a lot in English, and that's your way to shock your muscle, to try to break this plateau and get into a better position. Let's say your level is even not there. So I'm not able to speak in Italian, I'm not able to write in Italian. What do? I'm in a plateau. I've been doing Duolingo, now took a break for the last month, but before that for like almost 2 years straight, and I'm not getting anywhere. I mean, I maybe learn a little bit word here or there, but I don't see any progress. So do something different. So for example, when what I think I will do now with Italian, if I will continue to learn it, I'm still not decided, is read on the side, a book. Now it's passive learning, but it's passive learning from a different kind. So I force myself to do something different, to see large segments of text and try to understand how they come together. Because I'm not reading one sentence at a time. I'm reading whole paragraphs and trying to follow a plot and so on. So that's an effective method, and I've used it in all the languages that I know. I mean, I can even include Hebrew and English there, because at the point when I was a child, that's what I was doing. No, you move from a position of learning words to a position of reading and reading a lot. That's your way to shock yourself, do something surprising, and lead to an improvement in the language. So all this, no matter how good you are, there's always a possibility for you to get a bigger challenge, to shock the muscle, to start your way out of a plateau and into an ascent. If you're the best teacher, the best user of this language in the world, you can still teach. If you're not an academic, open a YouTube channel, start to put videos when you're speaking in this language, and this will always challenge you to get better. The key is shock. Improve by surprising yourself and doing something new. I want to say something important about the process of learning languages. I mentioned plateau as a negative word here. This is something that you want to break. Most of what we said so far is about how to break a plateau and go towards an ascent. But plateau is not necessarily a bad thing. It's okay to maintain a certain level in languages that you don't use. Just like I told you that, now at the gym, I am in a sense maintaining a plateau. So I'm trying to stay as flat as possible without any deterioration, and I don't have any plans of getting better. Now, I don't see any reason for me to try to adopt the same philosophy about language at my age, but I can still continue to learn and to get better. But even at the time when I was, focusing on improving my bodybuilding and powerlifting skills, I was never focusing on all of them at the same time. Okay, you say I focus on this muscle and I try to improve it, and the others are kept at the same level to some extent. Or I focus on building strength, and at the same time I try to maintain my cardiovascular ability and stamina, not deteriorate it, but definitely not get it improved, especially if I'm gaining weight. So try to think about languages in the same way. So try to say to yourself, fine, I know that if I know 5 languages or more, some people know many more, I'm not able to improve all of them at the same time. So my goal should not be that I will have an ascent in every one of them, that I will shock the muscle, that I will shock myself in every one of them. This would be a very stupid strategy, because what will happen if you would try to do that is you would not be able to improve yourself, and you will lead to deterioration. So my strategy should instead be to focus on one language or 2 languages. There are different schools in this. I think that in a particular week, I can significantly improve maybe 1 or 2 languages at the same time. The languages that I know, so I'm not studying from zero. So I can improve 1 or 2 at the same time. And the others, I want to maintain a plateau. That's my wish. I want to keep the same level that I have from before. And how do you do that? What is the opposite of shocking the muscle, of surprises, of things that never happened before? The opposite of that is habits. So you want to do things that are consistent, that use techniques that were the same techniques that were used before, that make you follow a certain pattern that you're already used to, so you're comfortable with. Okay? So if you are, let's say, I decided that this semester I teach in Danish, which means I need to improve my Danish as much as possible, and I teach my course, which this YouTube emerged from, on legal English. So I have to teach students how to improve English. So I focus on getting my English to the top level possible, including writing regularly, investigating everything that AI can do to improve writing English, and so on and so on. And I need to make my Danish as natural as possible, as fluent as possible, learning new words, make it as an active use of a language. So I always think in Danish, even when I'm not speaking in Danish, even if I'm by myself, I think in Danish. So I have this as a dual challenge. And what do I do with my German and my French? I'm not shocking them, I'm not surprising them. What I should try to do, I'm not doing that well enough, but what I should try to do is, for example, to say, okay, so I'll try to read a few minutes in these languages every day, or every other day. So I keep some minimal level of knowledge, or I would talk to the chatbot in these languages every once in a while. Or if it's a language that I know less well, I can try to say, fine, I would do Duolingo, for example, or Babel, or another app that allows you to practice it just 15 minutes a day, and this keeps it a bit fresh in your mind regularly. So a habit is the opposite of shocking the muscle. A habit is designed to maintain a plateau, whereas shocking the muscle is designed to break a plateau and go towards an ascent. And the thing that I want to stress, and this will be our last point, is really sometimes for many of the languages that you know as a multilingual, you would have to maintain a plateau as flat as possible for long periods. And this means that your philosophy should be adopting habits that you can stick with, that make you comfortable, that you're used to, and keeping these habits for very long stretches of time. And this will free you time and attention to take a language that you want to improve, but you're stuck in. And to avoid being stuck in this plateau in this language, you have to shock your muscle. You have to try something unconventional that you're not used to. And that's exactly the topic of a video for today. Thank you very much. That is all for today. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments, I'll be very, very happy to read them. And as always, until we meet again, keep learning.